Hi, I'm naturalist Wildman Steve Brill. You're watching The Inquiring Naturalist, and this segment is called Foraging with a Wildman. We look at the more positive side of naturology, examining what our natural ecosystems have to offer us, renewable and non-renewable resources. And this is one of the most non-renewable resources, my co-host, Rachel Rosenfield. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. I've been spending a lot of time promoting my book, going out into the woods and teaching people. And Rachel and I actually have a different series that we are working on, going into outdoor settings, or going out of indoor settings, whatever you want to call it.
Parks.
Okay, into parks, into natural areas, and we hope to get that series on public TV around the country. Meanwhile, you've just got the two of us in here with all these wonderful berries. And these are some great fruits that we're going to be looking at. And not only to see what they are, how to recognize them, but also what stories they have to tell us. Okay, what would you like to look at first?
All right. Let's see this one.
Okay, this one. Well, this is one you've probably eaten. This is a mulberry. And how would you characterize these leaves? What shape are they, first of all?
They look sort of oval.
Okay, roughly oval. All right.
And they are, I think, toothed.
Tooth.
leaf.
Ow, you bit me, you bad tooth. Okay. Are they opposite leaves or alternate leaves?
Pretty much opposite.
Well, what are opposite leaves?
I mean, alternate.
Alternate. So what does alternate mean?
They're just all over. They're not just one and the other. One's here, one's there, one here.
Yeah, they're not in pairs. Okay, and do they have any difference in the top and in the bottom?
Well, the top kind of feels like plastic to me, and the bottom, since the veins are sticking up, feels a little smoother, but they're bumpy because of the veins.
Okay, and the color?
It's lighter. It's whitish.
It's lighter on the bottom. And take a look at this leaf. This leaf has looks like something bit into it. That's called a lobe. So some of these leaves have lobes or subdivisions where they are starting to divide into segments. This one, a tiny bit over here as well. Some mulberry trees have very, very deep lobes. They look almost like sassafras. Yeah, here's one also. And let's check out these berries. Here comes a berry.
They're big.
Yeah, they are big. And if you look at them, what do they look like they're made out of?
I don't know.
Well, they have lots of little berries all clustered together. So this is
almost like grapes.
Almost like grapes. Grapes are in one long cluster where each grape is separate. And these are in much, much tighter clusters. So these individual dots are actually sort of tied together, so it makes one berry. And each of these has its own seed. So if there's maybe 50 or more little fruits with seeds stuck together, each one can become a new mulberry tree.
It's like 50 trees from one mulberry.
Yeah, but each mulberry doesn't have that much of a chance of growing into a tree. This one has, and what else? What else does this berry have that most berries don't have?
The little stem thing.
It has a stem. People confuse mulberries with raspberries or blackberries, and raspberries and blackberries never have a stem. And as I said, this mulberry, none of these berries are going to become a new tree. You know why? You're going to eat them. Tell us what it tastes like.
It tastes very sweet.
Okay, and that was a pink mulberry. I think that's the only one that was ripe on this bunch. The others, that one isn't quite ripe. Look, it isn't wet and sticky. Feel it, feel it. And it's a little bit hard. It's almost ripe, but it probably wouldn't taste very good. And the rest aren't ripe at all. They're still white. So,
and hard.
Yeah, and hard. And actually, people have eaten the green mulberries to use like a drug. It's supposed to get them high and give them hallucinations. And what happens is it doesn't work. It gets them sick. And the hallucination is that they are so sick they feel like they're going to die. And that's a hallucination because then they recover and they never do that again because it doesn't get people high. It just gets them sick. So you never want to eat any unripe fruit. Now, do you want to know where the mulberry comes from?
I guess so.
Okay, well, this one comes from two places. It comes from America and it comes from Asia. That's because it's a hybrid between American and Asian mulberries.
What's hybrid?
A hybrid is when pollen from one tree falls onto another tree that's a little bit different, and it makes a fruit that's somewhere in between. Like if you made a horse with a donkey, do you know what you get?
Mule?
A mule, right. So a mule is a hybrid.
So it's kind of like an Asian tree has pollen and an American tree has pollen. They mix and they both have berries and they make this weird berry?
Yeah, the Asian berries are white, the American berries are dark purple, and the hybrid is pink. So that's how you get the hybrid. And what happened there is people brought Asian mulberries over from Asia in the 1800s because there's a caterpillar that they put on the mulberry leaves, and the caterpillars would eat the mulberry leaf and get really big and fat from all the mulberry leaves they'd be eating. And after they got too fat and they can't eat anymore, what does a caterpillar do?
Turns into a butterfly?
What does it do first?
Makes a cocoon.
It goes into a cocoon. And then it sort of sits there for a really, really long time while it turns into a butterfly. But this one turns into a moth. And doesn't eat your clothing, but it's called a silkworm, and the name worm is incorrect. It should be called a silk moth or a silk caterpillar.
Does it really make silk like on those cartoons and stuff?
Well, the cocoon is the silk.
Well,
the cocoon is made of threads of silk. And what a person has to do is start unrolling the silk from the cocoon.
Is that how they really make silk?
Yes, that's how they make silk. They unroll the silk from the cocoon, and they have these long, very thin threads, sort of like the thread of a spider web. And they get miles and miles of this, and then they weave that into a fabric, and that's how you make silk.
Doesn't that take like forever just to make one little bit of clothing?
That's the problem. That's the problem with this. In the 1800s, all the catalogs that had trees for farmers to buy, little baby trees like this with a pot of soil in the back. They'd have these catalogs. Buy a mulberry tree, $10, you get 30 mulberry trees. In 5 years, they'll be big. You can put silkworms on them, and they'll eat the mulberry leaves. They'll spin cocoons. All you have to do is unroll 5,000 cocoons, and you can make something out of silk. And people bought the mulberry trees, and it turned out to pay the workers to unroll all of these cocoons and make silk out of it cost more than the money they could make by selling the silk. So people gave up on silk. In China in the 1800s, there was so many people and so little work that they would pay the workers like a few pennies a day, and they'd spend the whole day unrolling. That's why silk comes from China and Japan and Asia, because the conditions that people had to live under were so bad, there was so much poverty that people worked for pennies a day. And then the owner of the plantation that had the mulberry trees would make enough money selling the silk, because silk is expensive too, would make enough money selling the silk that they could make a profit. But that never happened in America. So all these white mulberry trees were sort of forgotten and just left in the field, but they made mulberries. The birds ate the mulberries. They dropped the seeds. They scattered the seeds. Each tree, each berry has maybe 50 or 60 seeds in it. Each tree every year has hundreds of thousands of berries. Even though most of the berries get rotten or eaten by insects, if one seed of one berry lands in the right place and grows into a new tree. In 10 years, you have another mulberry tree, and after 100 years and many generations, there are now white mulberries as well as red mulberries all over the country. So that's the story of the mulberries, and that was very, very good to think of. Isn't that a really hard, labor-intensive and expensive process to make silk? And also, when you do unroll the silk from the cocoon, you have a very angry caterpillar in there. What happened to my cocoon?
Well, I'm surprised his workers didn't go on strike. I mean, pennies a day.
In China, this is social conditions. It was almost like slavery. If they didn't work, they were peasants. They would get beaten up or killed. They didn't have strikes then. Strikes are like from the 1900s, not from the 1800s. So workers were under very, very poor conditions. Now, the mulberry has a story going back thousands of years to ancient Greece. And it's the story of how the red mulberry got the berries to be colored red. And it's the first love story that was ever written down. It's the story of Paramus and Thisbe. Before they had TV, before there was even Nintendo, before people could even read books, much less write books, if someone wanted entertainment, really the only way to be entertained is to listen to people telling stories. And the storytellers were like writers and musicians, because sometimes they'd have instruments. I would have been good back then. All around the mulberry bush.
The brillaphone.
Yes, that's the brillaphone. You should hear me sing. That's even worse. Anyway, people would do anything if they had the time to hear storytellers, because that was their only entertainment. And the storytellers would tell stories that would go the entire night. It would be like reading a book, except they'd remember the main ideas of what would happen in the book in their heads, and then maybe fill in the details. And the first love story that was ever written down after writing was invented was the story of Paramus and Thisbe. And Paramus and Thisbe were a boy and a girl. They grew up next door, and they fell in love, except the parents would not let them get married. They had other ideas. At that time, parents would tell their kids who they would marry, and that was that. People didn't decide for themselves. And they would meet when the parents went to sleep. There was a crack in the wall between the houses. Oh, Paramus, I can't even see you through this crack. Oh, where are you? Oh, Thisbe, my love, if I could just touch my finger to your finger through the wall, I'd be so happy. And this went on for a long time, and finally they decided to run away in the middle of the night and get married. They had to wait till the parents were asleep. And Thisbe got away first. They were going to meet under a mulberry tree outside of the town. And all the mulberries were white at that time. There were no red mulberries. And Thisbe went out. Oh, I'm going to get married tonight. It's going to be the happiest day of my life. My parents are not going to catch me this time. Ha ha. But when she got to the mulberry tree, a huge lion sprang out. Roar! And what do you think? It had blood on its mouth. Any idea why it would have blood on its mouth?
We don't have to get into the gory details, but yeah.
Okay, it had just had dinner. It had killed something and eaten it. And what do you think Thisbe did? What would you do if a big lion jumped out of the woods?
I would scream.
Ah! And she ran as fast as she could and dropped her cloak on the ground. And the lion, being like an overgrown pussycat, saw this cloak flopping on the ground, and he tore it and got blood all over it. And then Paramus came by and saw the lion with blood on its face and saw the cloak with blood all over it, all torn. Oh, I'm going to get married. Ah, what's this? What do you think he thought?
She was gone.
My love, She's lying in the lion, and I'm not lying. It's my fault. I should never have let her come out to this dangerous place by herself. And he was so sad. I can't live without her. He stuck his sword into the ground and took a flying leap and jumped on it. Blah! And just as he was taking his last breath, Thisbe came back. Oh, I hope that dreadful lion is gone. I want to get married tonight. Ah, my love! He died because of me. I can't live anymore. I will join him in death. Blah! And so much blood squirted out of the dead bodies that all the mulberries got covered with blood, and they've been red ever since. So that's the story. And Paramus and Thisbe are not forgotten. Some people go shopping in the Paramus Mall in New Jersey. And hopefully they should sell mulberries there, but they probably don't. Maybe there are mulberry trees growing outside the mall. But this is such a sad story, the way the storytellers told it 3,000 years. I probably would have been kicked out of Greece 3,000 years ago. Would have sent me to Rome or something, or Carthage. Siberia. I don't think they knew about Siberia. The people didn't have telephones. They didn't have highways. So most people stayed within a few miles of where they were born for their whole lives, or maybe went as far as they could walk in a few days or a couple of weeks and back again. If you went somewhere where you didn't have friends or relatives, a robber could come and kill you and take your money, and that would be it. So things were really different in the past, but people did learn about nature, and they didn't have science where you have ideas and do experiments and try to find out what's going on in nature. So the most they could do to make themselves entertained and comfortable with understanding the world is invent stories that became part of their religion, and the mulberry is one of them. Well, there are other stories about other plants. Would you like to look at another one?
Okay. I think I recognize this one, so.
Okay, what is this one?
Blackberries?
Close. It's a black raspberry, and they're both in a group of plants called the brambles. And there's one easy way to tell a blackberry from a raspberry. Okay, pick the raspberry.
This one?
Yes. Now, turn it upside down so people can see. What do you see here?
Lots of white inside.
Okay, and what shape is it? That's the important thing.
It's round, it's hollow inside?
It's hollow inside. That's the key identifying characteristic of raspberries that make them different from blackberries. What do you think happens when you pick a blackberry?
It's not hollow?
It's not hollow. That's right. Blackberries are never hollow. Raspberries are. So this is a black raspberry. And what kind of leaves? Let's see if you recognize what kind of leaves these are.
Well, they're double-toothed.
Okay, they're double-toothed. They have little teeth which have teeth. And how are they grouped?
Well, I'm not sure.
How many leaves are always together?
There are 3 leaves, but
Okay.
if you said alternate or opposite, I wouldn't quite know, because they're like alternate leaves on here, but they're like opposite from each other.
Okay,
here.
that's because this is what's called a compound leaf. This is actually one leaf divided into 3 parts.
Oh, because of the lobes? Is that
Yeah, if we go back to one of our old tapes when this show was first beginning 3 million years ago, the leaves were all together like this with just little lobes. And then maybe 2 million years ago, the lobes got bigger, and 1 million years ago, the lobes got even bigger, and just last week it split into separate leaflets. So this is one leaf. Leaves tend to get bigger over millions of years to catch more sun, but then they divide into lobes and eventually into totally separate parts, so that they can, if there's a hurricane or a big storm, the wind can sort of pass right through them and not blow them off. So this is called a compound leaf, and it's a palmate compound leaf, like the palm of your hand. The leaflets come from one central place, just like your fingers come from the center of your palm, sort of. Not exactly. And these compound leaves, are these compound leaves themselves alternate or opposite? Are they in twos?
They're alternate.
They're alternate. So these are alternate palmate compound leaves. And there'll be a test, but it'll be for the people watching the show, not for us.
Okay.
Okay. And how does the black raspberry taste?
Tastes good. It's kind of sweet. Got seeds in it.
Yeah, and each seed, of course, can become a new raspberry. And it has a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, too. Now, one question that people wonder about are, why are there thorns on the raspberry? And what's the most obvious answer to that?
To protect it.
To protect it, okay. And now let's look at this problem a little more deeply. Why doesn't a dandelion have thorns to protect it? What happens when you pick a dandelion? Does it just die?
Well, doesn't it have like the millions of little white seeds on it?
Yeah, so it can reproduce really quickly. But what happens to the one that you pick? Is that the end of it when you pick it?
I don't know.
If people have dandelions in their yard and they come in with a mower and cut them down, do they never have dandelions again?
Oh, they grow back.
They grow back. Okay. Now the dandelion protects itself by growing back, but the raspberry protects itself with the thorns. So there's two different ways of protecting itself. So we still want to figure out, why is the raspberry protecting itself with the thorns instead of protecting itself by growing back? What do plants need if they're going to grow back or going to grow at all that may be present in some places and not in other places?
Sunlight?
Sunlight they get almost all over. What else do they need? If you have a plant,
need water.
Water, okay. Is there water all over the world? No. Where would there be no water?
In a desert.
Okay. Now, let's do a thought experiment. Close your eyes and visualize that you are in a desert. Things do not have water. If they get eaten, they cannot grow back. Do plants in deserts have more thorns than plants, say, in your backyard?
Yeah, like cacti.
Like cacti. Okay, so that's why some plants have thorns, because they, at some point in their past, they had to deal with dry conditions where there wasn't enough water, and they therefore had to have thorns to protect themselves so they couldn't grow back. And this one just has a few thorns, so maybe it was only a little bit dry. We have another raspberry here, and let's take a look at this one. Here, hold this up for people to
prickly.
see. This has more thorns. Okay, keep it a little lower. And this is the black raspberry, and the one that you're holding is called a wineberry. And they're in the same family, but the black raspberry ripens first because you already ate it. The wineberry is not ripe yet. Let's open it up and look inside and see if there actually is a raspberry inside. Open it, peel it all the way.
Oh, cool. You got a little berry in there.
Okay. Now let's show this to the audience.
There.
And there it is. It's very shy. It was still trying to be covered up. But this will be a raspberry in a few weeks. We're doing this taping at the end of June, and by the middle of July, there will be this kind of raspberry. It's called a wineberry. And let's compare it. How does it look different from the black raspberry? And how does it look the same?
Well, they're both the berries that have the little berries that are stuck tightly together.
Right, okay. That's called a compound fruit.
And they've got different kinds of thorns.
Okay, which has more thorns?
Ouch. This one.
Okay, are you glad you're holding the one with the less thorns?
I just picked myself.
Okay, and the color?
Well, I'm not sure. Is this going to get red?
Yeah, this will get red. I mean the color of the stem.
Oh. Well, this looks like darker and redder.
Yeah, this has a redder stem, and this has a greener stem. And what about the leaves?
What are they called? Palmate compound?
Palmate compound. They're both palmate compound.
And...
which one is bigger?
Oh, this one, the wineberries.
And let's look at the back of the leaves and see if there's much of a difference.
Not much, just more veins.
Yeah, and they're both very light underneath. Okay, so originally there was one type of raspberry, and when some of them grew in different parts of the world, some maybe grew in a wetter place or in a drier place, they started to change. And for that reason, you got different species. Just like when people started breeding dogs, they bred some dogs. I know you're an expert in dogs. They bred some dogs to love the water. What are some of the dogs that'll just jump in the water whenever there is any?
A lab.
A Labrador Retriever, right. And there were some dogs that would be really good for herding sheep around.
Herding sheep?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. Maybe one of like a setter or something like that, a pointer.
Yeah, I think
one of those dogs.
What is a pointer for?
Oh, is that for hunting?
Yeah, that was for hunting. They bred the pointer especially to hunt. And when nature does breeding for millions of years, you get totally different species.
That's how they got the miniature pinscher. They had the Doberman pinscher, and they got a little one, and then they breeded it with another little pinscher, and they got a little pinscher. Then they got more little pinschers, and they breeded them. Then the pinschers just kept getting smaller with the small genes.
Right. And speaking of pinschers, our director has just pinched off our show because our time is up, and we still haven't even looked at the yew, which has berries that have, in the fall, they're not here yet, that are red with edible fruit and poisonous seeds. If you swallow the seeds, your heart will stop. Outside of that, they are harmless. But we have looked at lots of fruits of late spring, early summer. I'm Wildman Steve Brill. This has been Foraging with a Wildman, part of the Inquiring Naturalists series. My co-host and guest and partner in botanical gluttony has been Rachel Rosenfield. I hope you've all learned a little about nature and how important it is to go out into the field, to study the environment, and to protect the non-renewable resources. Okay, thank you very much.